Chelsea Football Club will take on Brighton in the Premier League on Saturday, the 28th of September, 2024 at Stamford Bridge. And we're here to try the best we can to correctly predict Enzo Maresca's starting 11 on that day. It's not going to be easy, but we're going to have some fun anyway. Follow me and let's get into it. And without wasting much of your time, let's get on with it. Between the sticks, the goalkeeping position, I'm going to go with Robert Sanchez. No question. He's been brilliant between the sticks for Chelsea Football Club since the start of the season. You could argue that the arrival of Philip Jorgensen has been the difference because he's looked comfortable on the ball than usual. His distribution has been excellent. He doesn't come across as shaky as he did in the past. So he starts there until that changes. I think Robert Sanchez will keep his place. For the left back position, Marc Cucurella. Marc Cucurella will keep his place. The pattern shows that he's definitely starting in the Premier League, and so far the pattern also does show that the manager's preferred choice in the Premier League, while in Europe Renato Vega plays in that position, and he's been brilliant. No question, he keeps his place. Right back Malo Gusto, who's just recovered from an injury, will come back into the fold. He's played a few minutes in the cup game. He played, I think, 46 minutes. I think he will keep his. He will come back into the fold, so to speak. Given the absence of Reece James, he's not competing with anybody for that position. I'd be surprised if he doesn't start there. For the two centre backs, Levi Colwill will start in the left centre back position. Yep, he's becoming better and better since the start of the season. Solid, and one thing he's added to his game is the ability to shield the ball, and you cannot muscle him easily off the ball as was in the past. So I'm glad that he's doing well, and boy, he's maturing into a leader, and gradually I think he'd become the leader in our backline there because he's vocal. Doesn't shy away from telling his teammates how he feels about certain situations. So I think he's going to keep his place. And the fact that he was rested for the cup game, didn't play any part, wasn't even on the bench, I think he starts. And Tosin, for me, comes in here. I think Tosin will keep his place after that last game. I think Tosin, irrespective of the opposition, will do well. If you're thinking he's not quick, then you're one of those that's been deceived because of his size or maybe build. Tosin is actually deceptively quick. He's intelligent. He reads the game very well. He's an excellent passer of the ball. He's quick. Given his height, actually, you can muscle him up the ball easily. I think he keeps his place, and he led the back line the last time he played. He may not be the most vocal on the pitch, but he leads by example. I think we need him, and in his absence, we've had the pairing of Wesley Fofana. I'm not saying that Wesley Fofana is a bad player, but Wesley Fofana comes across as too rash sometimes. Makes, in my opinion, lacks that composure to calm things down if need be. The pairing of Tosin and Levi Colwill, while that pairing has worked, I think you could sense that whenever we concede, panic sets in, or whenever we have a lot of pressure from the opposition on our defensive line, they do panic. So I think Tosin starts. I'm not saying Tosin starts because he's my preference, but I think the manager starts him. I think he must have seen enough to know that he needs a Tosin in that back line to calm things down if need be. But for the 260s, Enzo Fernandez comes in. Enzo Fernandez there. Moises Caicedo comes back in after the cup game. Also, Caicedo. The two of them were absent in our last game. I think the pattern shows the manager's preference would be to always play these two. But the question now is, Romeo Lavia is also an important player. We've seen how good he can be. We've seen how we missed him once he was taken off during that game against Manchester City, our season opener to be more specific. Who makes way for him here? I'm not too sure. I'd say most likely he'd be rotating with Moises Caicedo because Enzo Fernandez is unique. Forget about it. I know he lacks it defensively, but he does a lot in terms of helping us dictate the tempo of the game. His vision is excellent. He may not end the season as one of our top scorers or maybe with the most assists, but you cannot underestimate his importance to this team. I think the manager knows that. And it's simple. The absence of these two players simply means they will most definitely start that game against Brighton at Stamford Bridge. I think maybe if Romeo Lavia makes it to the bench, he'd get a few minutes, but he's not going to start this game. The number 10 position, Cole Ice Palmer comes back in. He will most definitely start in that position, no question. Left wing, Sancho. We've seen the manager likes him and he's done very well. You could argue he's one of the most productive dribblers we have. He doesn't dribble unnecessarily, dribbles with papers, and when he cannot, he finds his teammate and releases the ball as quickly as possible. That's why I almost always argue that he's the most productive dribbler we have in our squad, if that makes sense. Right wing, I think this time, I think Pedro Neto will start ahead of Noni Madueke. Noni Madueke on 2 consecutive games, correct me if I'm wrong, hasn't performed up to par. Or maybe, let me just rephrase that, hasn't performed up to the level we know he can, or maybe we expect, or maybe you expect of him. I know he can perform at the highest level. The question is, can he perform consistently? But I think Neto will start over Noni Madueke in our home game in the Premier League against Brighton. Number 9 position, Nicholas Jackson. I think Jackson will start. The pattern also shows he was arrested, didn't play a part in our cup game, or did he? Am I losing it here? I don't think he did. So the fact that he was not actually on the bench. Yeah, to be accurate, he was not even on the bench. That shows for me, I think the manager had to rest him because he will play a part in this game, definitely will start. The likes of Nkunku will be on the bench under there. Mihailo Mudryk will be on the bench. Noni Madueke will also be on the bench, and the rest of the, let me just say, bench guys. But I think this will most likely be the starting 11. If anything will differ from the manager's selection, I think it'd be this position here, the right mid position. Maybe we'd still see Noni Madueke. But I strongly believe that the manager will start Neto here. You let me know whether you'd rather see a certain player start in certain position. Let us know in the comment section below. But that's by the way, please, if you haven't, take a second, drop a like on the video, and also do subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Thank you so much for finding the time to watch the video. Sincerely do appreciate that from you. Thank you. See you guys next time, and bye.